So, ready for televised action? Here's my JSA. So it is a 13 order list. It's a pool of 10 and a pool of 3. There's been a wee bit of an issue with this, which I will talk about in a minute, but I will first rattle through the army. So we have the shockingly unpainted Domaru Lieutenant with chain rifle. Now, really, you want the Lieutenant with the +1 order in a Spitfire, but not owning the model and also being a bit tight for points, that had to be waylaid. But we're hoping for a bit better than the last outing for the JSA, where I lost my Onawabin Lieutenant to intuitive fire from a Hack-Islam chain rifle in turn 1 before I got to move. So let's go for better, shall we? We have some Kaisotsus here. So these are just my core infantry. So we have the paramedic, which is the girl on the end, and the chap aiming the gun is a forward observer. We have a Kempetai, who has an MSV visor and level 2, and a marksman rifle. So these 5 here will form a core fire team, or at least that was the intention. We have an Onawabin, so that will be deploying obviously in camo. We have over here the Ryukin Unit 9, so we have the camoed guy with the rocket launcher, and then we have the forward observer with the, no, she's not a forward observer, the forward deployer with the killer hacking device, and she has mine layer as well. So we're intending to start, he'll be a camo marker with a mine, she'll be forward deployed and lay a mine, and this chap will be forward deployed as a camo marker. And the 2 mines are really there, not as much to clog up the board or really for their effect, but to distract from which could be the Onawabin. At the back we have the Daiokai, and the Daiokai has a Red Fury for today. We have the biker, the Kurushi Rider. Now, she could have been my lieutenant, but I really feel it's just a bit of a dangerous choice, and I don't have a lot of experience with the JSA, so maybe another day. We have a second combat group, which is 3 Tanko. These are the old Haramaki models. The lady in the middle has the Flammenspeer. The chap on the end here has submachine gun and a Blitzen, and the lady here has a light shotgun and a Blitzen. So in the active turn, the submachine gun intends to lead the way for those extra shots. All of them give decent ARO potential. The central model with the Flammenspeer also has a contender. Now, I personally really don't rate the contender, but with the extra point of burst, it can be really dangerous in ARO. And then we have over here our Kaji delegate as our HVT. Now, I only realised as I was printing my army list that the Tanko don't come with Fireteam Harris inbuilt. They have special Fireteam Harris when you take Minamoto. I think that might not be his name, but the Aristea character with the 2 swords. And they can join a fireteam of Domaru. So what it's looking like it's going to have to be is that the Domaru and the Kempetai are going to have to actually join the Tankos to make a core fire team, because otherwise they're going to be running around on their own. Now the problem with this is that they're in a different combat group, which means I might have to actually rejig my entire list, which was not something I was intending to do. However, they do come with Impetuous, so I could just run them in the second combat group and charge them up anyway. Yeah, so that's my army. Let's see how it does.
Hello, this is Ben, and this is my force for Quadrant Control. So I am running 2 groups. The first group is this one to the right, and it is Usha McNeil with the multi-spec visor. I'm using the twin auto pistols model. A fire team over to the right here, which is a Volkolak with HMG. 3 Rockhots, which is the light shotgun option. I think it's rifle light shotgun. A forward observer, which is the SMG one at the back, and a AP marksman rifle, and a Kazakh doctor, just side there. I then have a spare rocket which has got the chain rifle. Now this is one of the Caledonian volunteer models, but it's got the light shotgun modelled on, so I felt that was an appropriate proxy. And then I have a Zenit 7 which has got chain of command, and a War Core which had 3 points left over. Now I've picked the Sixth Sense option for the War Core, which will allow it to ignore the zones of the zero grav, and I think their visibility to them as well. So that's the first battle group. That's 8 orders with 1 irregular, which is the War Core. The Usha plus the Zenit will start as camo tokens. Zenit has decoys, so she'll start as 2 camo tokens, which have to start within 8 of each other. I'll need to make a marker as to which one's which. And then at the back, this is my second combat group, and it's 5 orders, 1 irregular, and 2 of the characters have impetuous. So there is a Varangian guard, which I'm using the Outrage model. This is the Outrage box here, and it's Dromavoy that I'm using as my Varangian guard. I don't have it as yet, so felt he was a suitable stand-in. And Caden, First Strike Dawn. Caden can join any fire team as a specialist or a special wildcard, and the Varangians can have duos, so I am putting the 2 of them together. Then I have Uhahu, also from the Outrage box, which is my war driver. I've gone for the hacking device war driver, boarding shotgun 6th Sense, and then a motorized 112. I would probably prefer the non-motorized one, just because then it allows it to fit up stairs and can hide on stairs and things like that. But it's not impetuous, which is quite good. The Varangian is impetuous, but I think because he's in the fire team, I lose. Or if I take the impetuous order, I would break the fire team. And then I have Equip Mirage, which will start off the board. So it's Margot at the front and Duroc at the back. Duroc's irregular and impetuous, whereas Margot is regular. So they're going to hopefully come on. Now they come on from the opponent's table edge, but I think they can come on the side table as well. So I'll have to read the rule before I bring them on. But it potentially allows me to bring them on towards the end of the game, and they're quite a lot of points at 66 for the 2 of them, so it might swing a quadrant in my favour if I can get them into that quadrant. So as I say, 5 orders in that pool plus an irregular, so 6 in total, with the 2 impetuous. Hopefully the force will have enough specialists to make my classified objectives, and that I have the Doctor, a forward observer. She's got chain of command. I think the other Zenits may be the forward observer, so don't think she counts as a specialist. And this Usha isn't a specialist. So then I've got the hacker and the Doctor and the 112 at the back. So I believe that's all my specialists, so we'll just see if that's going to be enough. Failing that, I'll just be able to use the card as my points from the classified objective as the intel points. So we'll see how that goes. Unfortunately, none of the models are painted as yet. I just sprayed the Kosmoflot today. I went for white so I can then do some contrast type colours over the top. I'm not going to paint them in full contrast, but I'll wanted to be able to use some of it for some of the uniforms. So that's the force. What we'll do is we'll do videos once we've got a deployment set up, and I'll kind of talk about where I've placed each of the models.
So as you can see, here is the gaming board with the armies deployed upon it. So first things first, my HVT is deployed here. Now I had felt this was a really safe spot because if Ben had taken any thing that required him to get close to the HVT. It would require him to really slog across the table, hopefully through my fire lines, possibly get a jump on him in combat. And then this happened. So it's camo -3. He passed the fizz roll, and oh my, there's something there I wasn't banking on. So over here, I've discovered the Tanko cannot form fire team Harrises on their own. So we have the Tanko with a Flammen Sperren contender. We have the Link team. We have the Damaru Lieutenant deployed prone. The Kempetai with his shock rifle and his MSV is up here. We've got the regular Kaisotsu, paramedic, and the forward observer here. We've got the Daiokai. I'm not intending to go up the stairs, to be fair. It'll probably come blitzing this way. We've got the male Ryukin 9 with the rocket launcher in camo state, and that's a mine deployed ahead of him. We have forward deployed the female Ryukin 9, and as you can see under here, we have another mine. These are shock mines. We have the two Tanko, the one with the shotgun and the one with the SMG. And way down over here have the biker. Now, a couple of things to note. There's these 4 0G saturation zones. And saturation means your weapon suffers -1 burst down to a minimum of 1. And 0G obviously means as soon as you enter it, your movement stops. Then you have to spend a new order going through it. Here, in this place here at the top of the stairs, is the hidden deployment on a Wabin. So we're going to wait there, and then we will probably turn him into the camo marker and try and blitz across, or look to get the drop. The game is quadrants, so I'm kind of hoping that he can contest one or maybe do something in. And I'm going second, so I had to deploy first. So I intend to scalp 2 orders out of Ben's main pool to try and slow him down, because I'm a bit worried about Zenit or some form of SAS or paratrooper appearing. I want to limit as much as possible the damage they can do.
So here we are after deployment. I chose to allow Martin to deploy first and pick this side. The deployments were fairly even, I felt. No kind of high tower on either side, but I felt this was a wee bit more busier with buildings and that, so I felt that might be more advantageous. So we've got our 0G zones in the middle, and HVT, so my one's just there, and Martin's is around here. And so I let him deploy first, so he's got his link team up there, the big guy there, the Haramaki, which I think he's using as the Tankos, or he is using as Tankos, and biker over there, and a camo marker down here. There is another model here with a further camo marker around the corner, but they weren't deployed, they were his held back models. So what I decided to do was I went for my link team here, which is Volkalat as a link leader. I've got the Kazakh doctor in base contact just in case. My forward observer here, and my lieutenant Rockhot here, which I think actually I would have probably preferred to have swapped the 2 around, but I can always do so later, or move them in the first turn. So I've got the Rockhot with AP marksman rifle prone at the top there as well. My Warcore and War Driver round the side. And then over here I have my 112. I have a camo marker and the second camo marker. Now this is the Zenit 7, and the Zenit's actually down here. I've popped it up there on the assumption that he'll maybe it'll kind of ward them off moving in some of the areas kind of round about the middle here. So maybe give them a pause for thought. Around the corner I've got Caden and the Varangian in a duo, the Varangian being the fireteam leader currently, and then I have the Rocket with chain rifle down the side with light shotgun as well. So that was my initial deployment. As say, Martin then put his Ryu 9, I think they're called, Ryu Ken 9, something like that, and I presume there's a mine underneath that camel marker. So I then placed Usha over here, succeeding the roll for my infiltration with the Fizz +6, I think it is, but -3 for being in his half, but still easily past it. In terms of my classifieds, so I drew the 2 experimental drug and telemetry, and I have picked, it's actually the one that's less worthwhile in points, however I think it's probably more likely to be able to score it. So it's Doctor or Paramedic to get an allied trooper recovered from unconscious to normal by using the Doctor special kit or by using a medikit. It says stroke medi injector, but that's been errated I think now. Don't think medi injector is actually something. So I've discarded the telemetry, which I do have a forward observer and a hacker, so potentially I could have managed, but I felt it was probably more likely to want to do the doctoring anyway with either the 112 or the Kazakh doctor. So I felt that was probably more likely to fit with the playstyle. So that's all my models deployed, and as I've got first turn, we'll be kicking off shortly. So my plan is hopefully to take out the Kempai on the bridge because he's standing up. So I've deployed the Volklat to hopefully be able to see him. Although I'm just thinking that building might be in the way, but we'll find out soon enough. So that's the deployment, and we'll move on to turn 1, and we'll come back with a video at the end of turn 1. So this is the end of my turn 1. There's been a few casualties. So I ran Usha McNeil up this building. She was discovered at the first attempt on a crit by the Kaisotsu down here, which was not part of the game plan. And then got to here, she took out the Kempai that was sitting up here, knocked him unconscious, and then ran up to stand effectively in base contact with the unconscious Kempai. Unfortunately, Batsu appeared out of nowhere and rocketed her in the face, which was not also part of the game plan. I boarding shotgun to knock Batsu unconscious and take a wound off the Damaru. There was also a mine revealed itself when Batsu appeared, but she managed to... she failed her dodge roll but still survived the mine. But then she was rocketed by Batsu and is now dead after failing both rocket saves.
It's maybe worth noting that not only did she survive the mine, she also survived a crit from the Kempai and a regular hit, meaning she shrugged off no less than 3 shock rolls despite having a t-shirt on. Not part of anyone's game plan.
It's a camo t-shirt, that's what did it. So they are now removed, so we'll just take these off. Kempai, and as I say, Batsu is unconscious, Damaru's taken a wound there. Link's down to 4, which is quite handy from my point of view, as it removes the +3 ballistic skill. What else have we got? The chain rifle, light shotgun, rocket ran up. The Link of the Varangian and Caden moved forward, popping a smoke grenade as they went past. Unfortunately, there's a bit of change over here from where my fire team was. The cunning plan of putting the Volcalat opposite the Kempai was snookered when I realised I didn't have line of sight to him. So there was a building in the way. So I decided to move them across. Unfortunately, in moving the Rocket here with the AP marksman rifle, I was picked off by Batu, and she is unconscious. I then moved the 112 up, got him in contact with her, and tried my doctor roll, failed, spent a command token to re-roll it, failed again, so she is dead. So I'll take her off. The War Core has moved around the corner and is currently sitting beside that cover there. With says regular, but it was an irregular order. Unfortunately, the packs we got for the order tokens don't come with irregular. And the Volcalat and Kazakh Doctor and the two remaining Rockets in the fire team have climbed into this building here. Unfortunately, they're in line of sight to the Daiokai, which has a red Fury, which I'm not particularly looking forward to. And they're quite close to, I believe she's a hacker, the Ryukin 9, or the Major. So that is the end of my turn 1. So it's about to be Martin's turn 1. So we'll do a quick recap once we get to the end of that.
So it's the end of the JSA first turn, and things are hotting up a bit, it must be said. So it started with the plucky paramedic taking control of the link team, scaling the building, and against all expectations, bringing the Ryukin 9 back to his feet so that we'd have the rocket launcher ready for the ARO. The Daiokai climbed up the building, well, walked up the stairs, and took a fairly commanding position. The second of the Ryukin 9, the Major, advanced up and, despite a false start, was able to complete the data scan, scanning down the Volcalat. I had a very lucky turn where none of my stuff died, even though it could be argued maybe something deserved to, in that from here, as we knew earlier, there was an Oniwabin who charged up the biker very generously through a large piece of smoke, which is actually sitting about here. And he managed to dodge through, or run through, threw himself into combat, cutting down the poor Kazakh doctor, who was just there to show where she was. The Volcalat hit him with 2 chaincoat shots, and I managed to roll a 13 and a 17 on the saves, which, thanks to my armor 1, meant that I did not die. The Tankos used their impetuous orders and then just ran up the table. So we've got one scaling the stairs, one really out in no man's land, and one here who is going to have a bit of a problem getting through the saturation zone. But it's one with the Contender and the Flammensperr, so I'm kind of hoping that might just be enough to dissuade this plucky lady over here, or these two, from advancing. As my last order, the Daiokai led a combined order to put himself, the biker, and the Major into suppressive fire to give me a bit of cover in the middle of the table.
So here we are at the end of the Kosmoflot Turn 2. So I brought Equip Mirage 5 on with Margot down here and Duroc there. Came on at the baseboard of the enemy deployment zone. Duroc moved up and chain rifled the link team multiple times. He managed to render the Kaisotsu here unconscious and the Domaru unconscious. He killed Batsu, or the Ryukin 9. Unfortunately, he got knocked unconscious himself by this Kaisotsu, who subsequently got shot and killed by Margot. The Rocket here with the chain rifle moved up, but didn't do much, unfortunately, with her chain rifle to the Tanko there. I did manage to take a wound off him, but that was with the Zenit when it popped up. The Zenit attempted to fire at the back of the head of the Oniwaban, unfortunately missed, and is currently moved up here, guarding that fire lane. Kaden and the Varangian moved forward, and the Varangian went to chain rifle the Tanko there. Unfortunately, he passed his save, and the Varangian took a Flammen Spur and died. Kanan taking 1 wound in the process. So I'll take him back off. Over here, the 112 stayed where he was. The Link team, unfortunately, were fairly unsuccessful with all of their roles in this turn. The Volkolot pause it for a moment. So I switched command to the Rocket with the SMG, the forward observer, who stepped up here to try and take on the Oniwaban. However, with the SMG, she failed miserably. The Volkolot in return took some shots from the Daisotsu whilst dropping prone. He suffered a wound and is currently on no wound in cap, but prone. The Oniwaban and the Daisotsu killed the Rocket with the SMG. However, then the Rocket lieutenant, who's currently actually here, I believe, came up and light shotgunned the Oniwaban, which failed to do anything as well, and he revealed himself as the lieutenant to do so, and the Volkolot chain colted both the Oniwaban and the Tanko there. The Oniwaban's dropped unconscious, the Tanko has taken a wound. The Worker ran up, attempted to flash pulse the Tanko that's at the top of the stairs, but failed. And I still have hidden away my war driver, who has successfully avoided doing anything all game due to a lack of orders left when I go to move her. I believe that is everything. It's not looking great for my dominating board edges, but we've got to Landa Martin's turn.
So it's the end of the JSA Turn 2, and I started in loss of lieutenant due to the Domaru very carelessly getting himself shot in the face twice. This obviously put quite a cramp in my style. So the Tanko decided that using its impetuous order to save the day, it would pile through a 0G zone, which, well, as we can see, went about as well as one would expect. Over here, the Tanko charged forward to hit the Volkolot, lost the combat, and that was the end of that. In fact, it didn't even technically get to combat, and it was shot in the face with a shotgun. But obviously you get to complete the action. It didn't help. The Volkolot got killed by the Red Fury on the Daiokai, who turned around, shot the Volkolot with a crit, blazed wide of the Zenit, and managed to shoot Margot's bullet in midair. So nothing happened there. So both these are out. Down here, the Ryukin 9, the Major came round. She opened up the SMG, dropped the War Core, most important model in the list, shot the wall twice. The Tanko moved up and dropped double template, trying to assassinate Ben's lieutenant. Ben's passed a dodge and took out the 112, which is a big win, to be fair. The Biker double moved and collided with the 0G, so that was the end of that, hence why it didn't shoot anybody. So I've actually got very, very little left for my final turn. I have the Daiokai, I have my bike, I have the Major, and in the other combat group I have a Tanko, and then I have the Forward Observer, who is down here on suppressive fire, but I don't think he's actually got the range to really cover anything. So we go into the final turn. I was winning 4-0 at the end of the first turn, and
you scored this quarter here.
So that gives me 1 point.
This quarter, I think the
Yokai is just in this quarter, and the Forward Observer is in this quarter.
So you'll score for those 3 quarters. I've got this one, so it'll be a further 2 points plus the 1 point for dominating one close to my deployment zone. So it'll go up to 7-0 currently.
So 7-0 to the JSA, looking fairly comfortable. However, getting dangerously close to a retreat, but as we're entering the final turn, that shouldn't be an issue.
So this is the end of the Kosmoflot Turn 3. Didn't have too many orders, but what we did was we moved the war driver up. It succeeded in dodging the biker into the 0G. I'm not sure if that's a success or not, but anyway. Did a face-to-face attempt to immobilize or isolate the Ryukin 9. Unfortunately, she passed her BTS. So she's currently kind of in, hopefully, this quadrant, staring down a mine, although the mine won't activate because I'm out of orders, and unfortunately trapped between the two, the Ryukin 9 and the biker. The Rocket Lieutenant attempted to shotgun the Ryukin 9 with very mixed success, but did manage to knock the Tanko unconscious. Over here, Caden actually stayed where he was. He didn't particularly do anything this turn. I only had 3 orders in each pool. The Zenit moved across this piece of terrain to be further into the quadrant and managed to succeed in taking a wound off the Daioksu with the AP marksman rifle. The Rocket with the chain rifle and light shotgun moved along this terrain here. Unfortunately was relatively pinned down by the Kaisotsu in suppressive fire. Margot moved up and managed to kind of get into cover from the Daiotsu or Daioku. Daiokai, and is not far enough in to get that quadrant, unfortunately. I believe that was everything that happened. As I said, there was only the 6 orders and the lieutenant order, 3 in each pool. I'm not convinced that I've done enough to be able to rescue it. I'm currently 7-0 down, so it would... I think it's beyond rescuing by now, but we'll see what happens in the JSA Turn 3.
So the final JSA turn was very quick. The Major moved up in an attempt to take out the Rocket Lieutenant, and the war driver failed horrifyingly and was dropped by the Rocket. The mine detonated from the war driver declaring the ARO, but failed to do anything. So the biker came screeching round. She dropped the war driver, hammered round and shotgunned the poor Rocket twice, and that was the end of him. The Daiokai, despite being the lieutenant, because he's on a very unhelpfully large base, was unable to move up and draw a line of sight to the Zenit, which on hindsight was probably a good thing, because Margot might have then got a marksman shot as well, and probably simply would have resulted in me losing my lieutenant, which in the last round of the game's not the end of the world, but it would have been completely wasteful. So when the game ends, I am holding this quadrant here with my plucky Forward Observer. The Yokai is holding this quadrant, and I'm holding this quadrant. Obviously, Fortress Ariadne over here has this one. So I believe at the end of the game that means that it is 10-0 to myself.
No, because I
Oh,
can
wait.
declare secure HVT. Embargo on the HVT here because I'm within 8. So zone of control, so I give up my experimental drugs to do so because I failed my doctor rolls anyway, and in giving this up I can choose to score 1 point by switching it for secure HVT. So it will finish 10-1, I believe. So it was 3 points for the first turn, 1 extra for Martin's classified objective, so 4, and a further 3 points for the second turn, and a further 3 for controlling more quadrants for the fourth turn, but 1 for me, so 10-1.
So there you have it, folks. A victory for the JSA, and a lesson on why you should always remember where the HVTs are, and when there's somebody skulking around clearly up to no good, assume the worst and chase them down with extreme prejudice. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to like, comment and subscribe. Any questions, stick them in the comment section, and feel free to check out our blog. Until next time, take care and happy gaming.